Black man helped desperate woman change her tire. 2 days later, a black car showed up at her house and the sun had barely risen over Atlanta, casting a warm glow across the city's skyline. The hum of early morning life was beginning to stir, with cars inching along the streets and the aroma of freshly brewed coffee wafting through the air. For Marcus Johnson, the day presented itself like any other, filled with meetings, corporate strategy sessions, and the relentless pressure that came with being the CEO of a billion-dollar technology company. Yet, as he navigated the bustling streets, he couldn't shake the feeling that something significant was about to unfold. Marcus had always been grounded by his past. Growing up in a modest neighborhood, he understood the weight of hardship and the importance of kindness. Despite the success he'd achieved, he often felt an innate urge to connect with those who were struggling, to remind himself of where he came from. His office, located on the top floor of a gleaming skyscraper, was adorned with reminders of his journey. A framed photo of his childhood home, a newspaper clipping about his first tech startup, and a quote from his mother, "Never forget the power of a single act of kindness." Meanwhile, Emily Thompson was already deep in the chaos of her day. With her daughter Lila still asleep, she hurried around their small apartment, preparing for another day of uncertainty. Bills piled up on the kitchen counter like a mountain she could never seem to scale. After losing her job 6 months ago, the weight of financial strain was suffocating. She had been a marketing coordinator at a local firm, and the sudden loss had sent her life spiraling. Now every moment was a struggle to keep her head above water. As she brushed her hair in front of the mirror, she couldn't help but glance at Lila, peacefully tucked in bed. Her daughter was the light of her life, but also the reason Emily felt so much pressure. The thought of losing their home, of not being able to provide for her, gripped her heart with fear. Just one good break, she whispered to herself, a silent prayer for a glimmer of hope in her otherwise bleak reality. After a hasty breakfast of toast and fruit, Emily grabbed her worn-out purse and made her way to her old car, a rusty hatchback that had seen better days. As she slid into the driver's seat, she took a deep breath, steeling herself for the commute to a temporary job she'd found, a small gig that barely paid enough to cover gas. She turned the key and felt a familiar dread wash over her as the engine sputtered before finally roaring to life. "Please, just get me there," she murmured, gripping the steering wheel tightly. The drive was uneventful until she reached a crowded intersection. Suddenly, a loud pop filled the air, a tire burst, and her car jolted violently. Emily's heart sank as she pulled over to the side of the road, panic rising in her chest. She stepped out, assessing the damage. The rear tire was flat and she had no idea how to change it. "Great," she muttered, frustration spilling over. Just when she thought things couldn't get worse, they did. As she stood there, looking helplessly at her phone, a sleek black SUV pulled up beside her. The window rolled down, revealing a man with a warm smile and kind eyes. "Need some help?" he asked, his voice deep and reassuring. Emily hesitated, her pride battling against her obvious need. I don't want to bother you. I can call for roadside assistance," she stammered, trying to maintain her composure. The man chuckled softly, shaking his head. "It's no bother at all. I'm Marcus," he introduced himself, his smile widening. "I can help you change that tire. It's what I do, help people." His confidence was infectious, and Emily found herself nodding, a mix of gratitude and embarrassment flooding her. "Okay, thank you, I'm Emily," she replied, stepping aside to let him assess the situation. Marcus got out of his vehicle and approached her car, examining the flat tire with a practiced eye. "No worries, we'll get you back on the road in no time," he said, his tone reassuring. As he worked swiftly, Emily watched, captivated by his ease and competence. It was refreshing to encounter someone so willing to lend a hand, especially when she felt so overwhelmed. "You're a lifesaver," she said, her voice tinged with relief. "I don't know what I would have done without you." "Just doing my part," he replied, a hint of humility in his demeanor. "You'd be surprised how many people need a little help sometimes." As he finished swapping the tire, Marcus turned to Emily, his eyes reflecting a genuine concern. "What brings you out here today?" She hesitated, unsure of how much to reveal. "Just trying to make ends meet. I lost my job a while back, and it's been tough," she admitted, her vulnerability creeping into her voice. Marcus nodded, his expression softening. "I understand. Life can throw unexpected challenges at you, but remember, you're not alone in this." His words resonated deeply with Emily, stirring something within her that had long been buried beneath layers of pride and self-doubt. She had always prided herself on being strong, capable, but now she felt like she was hanging by a thread. "Thank you, really," she said, her voice barely a whisper. With the tire changed, Marcus packed up his tools, glancing at her car. "If you ever need anything, don't hesitate to reach out," he offered, pulling out a business card. "I work in tech, but we're always looking for talented people. I could help you find a position if you're interested." Emily stared at the card, her heart racing. She wanted to accept his kindness, but a wave of pride washed over her. "I don't know. I wouldn't want to take advantage of you," she replied, a hint of worry in her voice. "Not at all," he insisted, his smile unwavering. "It's just an opportunity. You deserve a break." As he walked back to his SUV, Emily felt a mix of emotions swirling inside her. She watched him drive away, a stranger who had somehow shifted her perspective in a matter of minutes. His kindness lingered in the air like a promise. Could she really accept help, or would her pride keep her from seizing a chance? In that moment, she realized that perhaps she needed to let go of her fears and embrace the possibility of change. But as she climbed back into her car, the weight of her situation loomed heavily over her. Could she really take a leap of faith and reach out for help? The sun continued to rise over the city as Emily sat in her car, torn between hope and hesitation. Little did she know, this was only the beginning of a journey that would redefine her understanding of kindness and connection. Emily sat in her car, staring at the business card Marcus had given her. The sunlight filtered through the trees lining the street, casting dappled shadows on the worn leather of her seats. She turned the card over in her hands, her mind racing. It felt surreal. How could a chance meeting with a stranger lead to such a significant offer? The card read, "Marcus Johnson, CEO of Tech Innovations. Connect with me for opportunities." The words blurred as tears of frustration welled in her eyes. She had spent so long trying to prove that she could handle everything on her own that asking for help was a sign of weakness. But deep down she felt like she was drowning. The thought of reaching out to Marcus stirred a mixture of hope and fear within her. Could she really take that step? Taking a deep breath, she wiped away her tears, reminding herself of Lila's sweet face, her laughter, and the dreams she had for their future. "I need to do this for her," she whispered, the weight of her decision settling heavily on her shoulders. After a moment of deliberation, she turned the key in the ignition and drove towards the temporary job she had scrambled to secure. The streets of Atlanta buzzed with life, but her mind was elsewhere, tangled in thoughts of what Marcus had offered her. As she pulled into the parking lot of the small marketing agency, she felt a surge of determination. Today she would give it her all, focus on her work, and put aside the worry that had plagued her since losing her job. She stepped out of the car, smoothing her blouse and taking a deep breath to steady herself before entering the building. Inside, the atmosphere was tense but familiar. Co-workers were huddled in small groups discussing campaigns and strategies. Emily greeted a few of them, her heart racing as she settled into her desk. The day unfolded in a blur of phone calls, brainstorming sessions, and a constant undercurrent of anxiety about her precarious situation. By lunchtime, she could hardly concentrate. The thought of Marcus and his offer tugged at her mind. She pulled out her phone, contemplating whether to text him. But what would she say? "Hi, remember me? The woman whose tire you changed? Can I have a job?" Just then, her phone buzzed. It was a message from her landlord reminding her about the rent due next week. The weight of her financial troubles crashed down on her, making her stomach churn. She looked around the office, seeing her colleagues engaged in lively discussions, and felt a pang of envy. Their lives seemed so stable, so secure. After lunch, she returned to her desk, the message still weighing heavily on her mind. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, but she found herself staring blankly at her screen. "I can't keep doing this," she muttered under her breath. Suddenly, a knock at her cubicle wall pulled her from her thoughts. It was Sarah, her co-worker, with a concerned look on her face. "Hey, Emily, you okay? You seem a bit off today." "Yeah, just a lot on my mind," Emily replied, forcing a smile. "Want to grab coffee later? We can talk," Sarah offered, her voice warm and inviting. "Thanks, I'd like that," Emily said, grateful for the distraction. As the afternoon wore on, Emily's thoughts kept drifting back to Marcus. She wondered what his life was like, how he had achieved such success, and if he genuinely meant what he said about helping her. The internal battle continued. Her pride fought against her need for support, but desperation was beginning to tip the scales. Finally, as the workday came to a close, she gathered her belongings and made her way to the parking lot. She hesitated, looking at the business card in her hand. It felt like a lifeline, but also a heavy weight. She paused, gripping it tightly, and then made her decision. Driving home, the rain began to fall, gently tapping against the windshield. The rhythmic sound was calming, almost like a drumbeat, urging her forward. She pulled out her phone and stared at the screen, her heart racing. Taking a deep breath, she composed a text. "Hi Marcus, it's Emily, the woman you helped with her tire. I've been thinking about your offer. Can we talk?" She hit send before she could second-guess herself. A flood of emotions washed over her, relief mixed with anxiety. Would he respond? Would he still want to help her? Minutes felt like hours as she drove, the rain intensifying, blurring the world outside. Just as she pulled into her driveway, her phone buzzed. She quickly glanced at the screen, her heart racing. "Hi, Emily, of course, I'd love to chat. Are you free tomorrow?" A wave of relief washed over her. "Yes, I'm free in the afternoon. Does that work for you?" "Absolutely. Let's meet at Cafe 360 at 2 p.m. I'm looking forward to it." As she parked the car and sat in the driver's seat, a sense of hope began to blossom within her. Maybe, just maybe, this was the break she had been waiting for. After dinner, Emily settled in on the couch with Lila, who was busy coloring in her sketchbook. She watched her daughter's concentrated expression, the way her little tongue poked out in concentration. It was these moments that reminded Emily of her purpose, her fierce determination to provide for Lila and create a stable life for her. "Mommy, look!" Lila exclaimed, holding up her drawing of a rainbow. "Isn't it pretty?" "It's beautiful, sweetheart," Emily replied, her heart swelling with pride. "Just like you." As Lila continued to work on her art, Emily's mind wandered to the meeting with Marcus. She felt a mixture of excitement and anxiety. Would she be able to seize the opportunity? Could she prove herself worthy of his kindness? Later that night, as Lila drifted off to sleep, Emily sat in the dim light of the living room reflecting on the day. She realized that this was more than just a job offer. It was a chance to redefine her life, to step out of the shadows of despair and into the light of possibility. With a newfound resolve, she vowed to approach the meeting with an open heart. Tomorrow would be a new beginning, one where she would embrace help, shed her pride, and take a bold step toward the future she longed for. As she prepared for bed, a sense of calm washed over her. For the first time in months, she felt a flicker of hope. Tomorrow held the promise of change, and she was ready to embrace it. The morning light filtered through Emily's curtains, casting soft shadows across the room. She awoke with a mix of excitement and anxiety, her heart racing at the thought of her meeting with Marcus later that day. The promise of a new opportunity lingered in the air like the sweet scent of fresh coffee brewing in the kitchen. After a quick breakfast with Lila, who was still in a sleepy haze, Emily found herself pacing the living room, rehearsing what she would say. What if she fumbled her words? What if he realized she wasn't as qualified as he thought? Deep down, she was afraid that her struggles would overshadow her potential. "Mummy, are you okay?" Lila's small voice pulled her from her thoughts. The little girl watched her with wide, innocent eyes, clutching her favorite stuffed bear. "Of course, sweetheart. Just a little nervous about a meeting," Emily replied, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Is it about a job?" Lila asked, her brow furrowed in concern. "Yes, it is. But it's going to be okay," Emily assured her, kneeling to meet her daughter's gaze. "I'll make sure we have everything we need. You just keep drawing those beautiful rainbows, okay?" "Okay." Lila beamed, her enthusiasm contagious. Emily felt her heart swell with love for her daughter. This was all for her, every ounce of effort and every sleepless night. She had to make this work. As the clock ticked closer to 2 o'clock, Emily's nerves intensified. She dressed carefully, choosing a simple yet professional outfit, a navy blouse paired with tailored black pants. She wanted to make a good impression, but also remain true to herself. She practiced her smile in the mirror, trying to shake off the unease that threatened to consume her. Finally, it was time to leave. She hugged Lila tightly, promising to be home soon. As she drove through the familiar streets of Atlanta, she replayed their last encounter in her mind. Marcus had been kind and genuine. Surely he wouldn't judge her harshly, yet a small voice in her head whispered that she didn't belong in his world. Arriving at Cafe 360, Emily parked and took a moment to breathe deeply, reminding herself of the importance of this meeting. She walked inside, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee enveloping her, calming her nerves a fraction. She spotted Marcus at a table near the window, his presence commanding yet approachable. "Hi, Marcus," she said, her voice steady as she approached him. "Emily, I'm so glad you could make it," he replied, standing to greet her with a warm smile. The tension in her shoulders eased slightly as they shook hands. "Thanks for inviting me," she said, taking a seat across from him. "I really appreciate it." "Of course, I wanted to make sure you felt comfortable discussing everything," he replied, leaning back in his chair, his expression open and encouraging. Emily glanced at the menu, though she wasn't hungry. "So, I've been thinking about your offer," she began, her heart racing as she prepared to lay bare her thoughts. "I'm glad to hear that. Tell me what's on your mind," Marcus encouraged, his eyes bright with interest. "I guess I'm just nervous," she admitted, her voice wavering. "I've been out of work for a while, and I worry that I might not be qualified for a position in your company. I don't want to waste your time." "Emily, I wouldn't have offered if I didn't see potential in you," Marcus replied, his tone reassuring. "I know what it's like to struggle, and I believe that everyone deserves a chance to prove themselves. Your story matters, and it shapes who you are." Emily nodded, feeling a flicker of hope. "I appreciate that, but I've spent so long trying to handle everything on my own." "Accepting help feels like admitting defeat." Marcus leaned forward, his expression earnest. "Accepting help isn't a sign of weakness, it's a part of being human. We all need a little support sometimes. You have a lot to offer, and I genuinely believe you could thrive in our environment." His words resonated with her, and for the first time Emily felt a sense of possibility. "Thank you, Marcus. I guess I'm just afraid of failing again," she confessed, her vulnerability surfacing. "Failure is part of growth. I've had my fair share, and it's taught me resilience and the importance of kindness," he said, his voice steady. "You're not alone in this. I want to help you find your footing again." Emily swallowed hard, unsure of how to articulate her gratitude. "That means a lot to me," she said softly. "I've been trying to stay strong for my daughter, but it's been exhausting." "Being strong doesn't mean doing everything by yourself. It means knowing when to reach out for help," he replied, his gaze unwavering. "And you have a daughter who looks up to you. That's a powerful motivation." They talked for a while longer, delving into Emily's previous experience in marketing and her aspirations for the future. As the conversation flowed, she found herself opening up about her struggles and dreams, feeling a sense of connection with Marcus that she hadn't expected. After a while, Marcus leaned back in his chair. "So what do you think? Would you be willing to come in for an interview? We have a position that I think you'd be perfect for." Emily's heart raced at the thought. "Are you serious? You really think I could do it?" "Absolutely. I wouldn't have suggested it otherwise," he replied, his smile warm. "You have a unique perspective, and I think you would bring a lot to our team." As a wave of excitement washed over her, Emily felt hope bloom in her chest. I'd love to. Thank you for believing in me." Marcus reached across the table, offering his hand. "Then it's settled. We'll get you in for an interview, and I'll help you prepare. You deserve this chance." As they shook hands, Emily felt a surge of gratitude and determination. This was the opportunity she had been waiting for, and she was ready to embrace it. But as she left the cafe, her mind began to swirl with questions. Would she be able to rise to the occasion? And what would it mean for her relationship with Marcus? The drive home felt different, filled with a sense of purpose she hadn't felt in a long time. She couldn't wait to share the news with Lila, to show her that hope was worth fighting for. Later that evening, as they settled into their nightly routine, Emily felt an unfamiliar sense of excitement tinged with nervousness. She watched Lila color, her little hands moving deftly across the page. "Guess what, sweet pea?" Emily said, her voice filled with anticipation. "What is it, Mommy?" Lila asked, looking up with curiosity. "I might have a job interview soon," Emily exclaimed, her heart racing at the thought. "Really? That's so cool!" Lila cheered, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "You're going to be the best!" Emily laughed, her heart swelling with pride. "I hope so, but I need to work hard and prepare." "You can do it!" "I believe in you," Lila declared, her unwavering faith igniting a fire within Emily. As they cuddled on the couch, Emily knew that this was just the beginning of a journey that would redefine their lives. With newfound hope and the kindness of a stranger, she felt ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. But little did she know, Marcus's kind gesture would lead to much more than just a job opportunity. It would change the course of their lives forever. The sun peeked through the clouds, casting a golden hue over Atlanta as Emily prepared for her meeting with Marcus. She had spent the entire night tossing and turning, filled with anticipation and nerves. The prospect of an interview loomed large, and she knew this was her chance to turn her life around. With each passing hour, her resolve strengthened, bolstered by the encouragement of Lila and the kindness Marcus had shown her. After making sure Lila was settled at her grandmother's for the day, Emily dressed carefully, opting for a crisp white blouse and tailored black slacks. She wanted to project confidence, but also stay true to her authentic self. As she looked in the mirror, she whispered, "You can do this," a mantra she hoped would drown out the voice of doubt that lurked in the back of her mind. Arriving at Tech Innovations, Emily was struck by the modern architecture of the building. It was a far cry from the cramped office spaces she was used to, reflecting the cutting-edge technology and ambition that pulsed through the company. She took a deep breath, reminding herself that she belonged here, at least for today. As she entered the lobby, the receptionist greeted her warmly. "Welcome to Tech Innovations. How can I help you?" "I'm here to meet Marcus Johnson," Emily replied, her voice steady despite the fluttering in her stomach. "Right this way," the receptionist said, leading her through a sleek corridor adorned with vibrant artwork. Emily couldn't help but admire the creative atmosphere, feeling a sense of excitement bubbling within her. When they reached Marcus's office, she took a moment to compose herself before entering. Marcus stood up as she walked in, his presence commanding yet inviting. "Emily, I'm glad you made it," he said, his smile widening as he gestured for her to sit down. "Thank you for having me," she said, settling into the plush chair opposite his desk. "I've been looking forward to our conversation," Marcus said, leaning forward with genuine interest. "How are you feeling about everything?" Emily took a deep breath, excited, but nervous. "This feels like a big opportunity for me," she admitted, biting her lip as the weight of her circumstances settled in her chest. "It is a big opportunity," Marcus affirmed, his eyes locked on hers. "But remember, you have a lot to offer. Your experiences shape your perspective, and that's invaluable in a team setting." His words washed over her like a balm. "Thank you," she replied, feeling a warmth spread through her. "I just hope I can meet your expectations." "You will. Let's get to know each other a bit better," he suggested, pulling out a notebook. "Tell me about your background and what you're passionate about in marketing." As Emily shared her story, she found herself relaxing. She spoke about her previous roles, the campaigns she'd spearheaded, and the joy she found in connecting with audiences. Marcus listened intently, nodding and asking thoughtful questions that encouraged her to delve deeper. "I love the creativity involved in marketing," Emily explained. "It's about telling a story that resonates with people, making them feel something. That's what I strive to do." "Storytelling is at the heart of every great brand," Marcus replied, a spark of enthusiasm in his eyes. "I believe that's what sets successful companies apart. You have that gift, Emily, and I think it could be a great asset here." As they continued to talk, Emily felt her confidence grow. Marcus's belief in her abilities lit a fire within her, allowing her to envision a future where she could thrive in this industry once again. But just as she began to feel at ease, the conversation took a turn. Before we discuss the position further, I want to be transparent about the challenges we're currently facing at Tech Innovations, Marcus said, his expression serious. We're in a competitive market, and as an emerging company, we need people who can adapt quickly and think outside the box. Emily's heart raced. I understand. I'm more than willing to put in the work. I've faced challenges before and come out stronger. I admire your resilience, he said. However, I also want you to know that the work environment can be demanding. There are times when the pressure is high, and I need to ensure that you're prepared for that. I appreciate your honesty, Emily replied, her determination unwavering. I'm ready to take on challenges. I want to contribute and be part of something meaningful. Marcus smiled, clearly impressed. Great. I believe that your passion and experience align well with our goals. He paused, then added, I'd like to offer you a position as a marketing coordinator. It would be a full-time role, and I think you'd fit right in with our team. Emily's heart soared. Are you serious? I can't believe this. I am serious, he said, his tone warm. I see potential in you, and I want to help you succeed. Of course, there will be an official process, but I'm confident in your abilities. Tears prickled at the corners of her eyes as she fought to contain her emotions. Thank you, Marcus. This means more to me than I can express. I've been struggling for so long, and now I feel like I have a chance to turn my life around. Just remember, this is only the beginning, Marcus said, his voice steady. It's up to you to seize this opportunity and show what you can do. I will, Emily promised, her heart swelling with gratitude. You won't regret this. As they wrapped up the meeting, Marcus handed her a folder containing details about the position, an outline of the company's goals, and a list of potential projects she might work on. Take your time to review this. I'd love to hear your thoughts once you've had a chance to digest everything. Absolutely, she replied, feeling a mix of excitement and gratitude. I'll go over it thoroughly. As she stood to leave, Marcus added, And Emily, don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions or need support. We're all in this together. His words resonated deeply with her. For the first time in a long while, Emily felt a sense of belonging, a feeling that she was not alone in her journey. Driving home, the weight of her worries had lifted, replaced by a newfound sense of purpose. The possibilities felt endless, and she couldn't wait to share the news with Lila. As she pulled into her driveway, she realized that this wasn't just a job offer. It was a chance to reshape their future. With a heart full of hope, she rushed inside, eager to tell her daughter about the incredible opportunity that lay ahead. Little did she know, accepting this chance would lead to more than just professional growth. It would intertwine their lives in ways she had yet to imagine. The next few days unfolded like a whirlwind for Emily. She pored over the materials Marcus had provided, her mind racing with possibilities and questions. The offer of a job at Tech Innovations felt surreal, a beacon of hope shining brightly in the darkness of her recent struggles. But with every passing moment, doubt began to creep in, whispering questions that tugged at her confidence. Did she truly deserve this? Was she capable of thriving in such a demanding environment? On the surface, everything appeared ideal. She had a chance to rebuild her career, to provide for Lila, and to escape the suffocating weight of her financial troubles. Yet beneath that bright exterior lay an underlying fear. What if she failed? What if she wasn't good enough? Emily sat at her kitchen table, the sunlight streaming through the window, illuminating the scattered papers and her laptop. Lila, busy with her art supplies, hummed softly in the background, blissfully unaware of her mother's internal turmoil. Emily glanced at her daughter. The innocent joy radiating from her reminded her of why she needed to push through her fears. Lila deserved a stable life, and Emily was determined to give it to her. Taking a deep breath, she attempted to focus on the documents before her. As she sifted through the company goals and project outlines, her mind wandered back to Marcus. His kindness had ignited a spark within her, and she couldn't help but marvel at how a simple act of goodwill had led to such a pivotal moment in her life. Yet, his expectations weighed heavily on her shoulders. She was acutely aware that she would need to prove herself in a world that felt intimidating and foreign. "Mummy, look." Lila's voice broke through her reverie as she held up a colorful drawing. "I made a picture of us at the park." Emily's heart swelled with pride as she took in the vibrant strokes of color and the stick figures that resembled them. It's beautiful, sweetheart. You're such a talented artist. Lila beamed, her eyes sparkling with delight. Can we go to the park today? Of course we can. Just let me finish a few things first, Emily replied, smiling at her daughter's enthusiasm. The simple joy on Lila's face reminded Emily of her own dreams, dreams that had been overshadowed by worry and self-doubt. As Lila returned to her art, Emily's gaze fell back to the documents. She picked up the folder Marcus had given her and flipped through the pages again. Each project outlined in the folder seemed to call out to her, igniting a flicker of excitement deep within. Yet, the undercurrent of anxiety still gnawed at her. Could she really handle the pressure? The thought of being thrust into a high-stakes environment made her stomach churn. She had spent the last few months in a survival mode, just trying to make ends meet. Now she was being offered a chance to contribute to a company on the rise, a company that expected innovation, creativity, and resilience. Maybe I should just call him, she murmured to herself, contemplating reaching out to Marcus. Perhaps he could provide some reassurance or guidance. But then the doubt surfaced again. What would she say? "Hi, Marcus, I'm terrified of failing." Suddenly her phone buzzed, jolting her from her thoughts. It was a text from Marcus. "Hi, Emily. Just checking in to see how you're feeling about the offer. Let me know if you have any questions or need anything." Her heart raced at the sight of his name. The warmth of his message was comforting, yet it heightened her anxiety. She hesitated, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. Should she respond honestly about her fears, or should she put on a brave face and reassure him that she was ready for the challenge? Taking a deep breath, she decided to be vulnerable. "Hi, Marcus. Thank you for checking in. I'm excited about the opportunity, but also feeling a bit overwhelmed. I want to make sure I'm ready for it." Almost immediately, Marcus replied, "It's completely normal to feel that way, Emily. Remember, you're not alone in this. I'll be here to support you every step of the way. We can even set up a time to discuss the role in more detail if you'd like." Relief washed over her. His understanding reassured her that she didn't have to face this challenge alone. "I'd appreciate that. Let's set up a time to meet," she replied, feeling a weight lift from her shoulders. As she set her phone down, she felt a renewed sense of determination. Perhaps she could do this. With Marcus's support, she could step outside her fears and embrace the opportunity ahead. After spending some more time with Lila at the park, where they laughed and played, Emily felt a sense of clarity wash over her. The simple pleasure of being present with her daughter grounded her, reminding her of what truly mattered. That evening, as Lila drifted off to sleep, Emily sat in the living room, her heart racing with anticipation and nerves. She had agreed to meet with Marcus the following day to discuss the role in more depth. What would he expect from her? What questions would he ask? As the clock ticked closer to bedtime, Emily found herself reflecting on her journey. She remembered the woman she used to be, ambitious, confident, and ready to take on the world. Somewhere along the way, she had lost that part of herself. But now, with this opportunity on the horizon, she felt a flicker of that old spark reigniting within her. The following morning, Emily woke up early, her heart pounding with a mix of excitement and fear. She dressed carefully, choosing a navy blazer that made her feel both professional and confident. As she looked in the mirror, she whispered to herself, "You can do this." Arriving at Tech Innovations, she felt a wave of nostalgia wash over her. The sleek building and vibrant atmosphere filled her with a sense of purpose. She took a deep breath as she approached Marcus's office, steeling herself for the conversation ahead. "Hey, Emily, I'm glad you could make it." Marcus greeted her with a warm smile as she entered his office. "Thanks for meeting with me," she said, her voice steady despite her nerves. "Of course, I wanted to ensure you feel comfortable about the position and what we expect," he said, motioning for her to take a seat. As they settled into the conversation, Emily felt her confidence begin to grow. Marcus's demeanor was supportive, and every question he asked allowed her to articulate her vision and aspirations. She found herself opening up about her ideas, her passion for marketing, and her desire to contribute to the company's success. But just as the conversation began to flow, a sense of vulnerability washed over her. What if she didn't measure up? What if the expectations were too high? "Emily, I want you to know that I believe in you," Marcus said, his eyes locked onto hers with sincerity. "You have a unique perspective and creativity that I think will be invaluable to our team." His words sent a jolt of warmth through her, reminding her of the potential that lay within. But as the conversation deepened, the internal conflict raged on. She yearned to embrace this opportunity, yet the fear of failure loomed large. The meeting continued, and Emily found herself caught between excitement and trepidation. Would she be able to rise to the occasion? Would she be able to embrace the kindness Marcus had shown her and transform it into something meaningful? As they wrapped up, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of a transformative journey, one that would not only challenge her professionally, but would also lead her to confront her deepest fears and insecurities. With a mix of anticipation and uncertainty, Emily left Marcus's office, ready to embark on a new chapter in her life. Little did she know, the path ahead would test her resilience and redefine her understanding of success and kindness in ways she never could have imagined. The sun streamed through the window of Emily's modest apartment, casting a warm glow over the cluttered living room. It was a new day, but the weight of uncertainty still hung in the air like a thick fog. Emily had spent the previous night tossing and turning, her mind racing with thoughts of the job offer from Marcus. She had replayed every detail of their meeting over and over, and while part of her felt exhilarated, another part was paralyzed by fear. "Mommy, look what I drew!" Lila's cheerful voice broke through the haze of Emily's thoughts. The little girl stood in the doorway, holding up a colorful drawing of a house with a big sun shining overhead. Her innocence and joy were a reminder of what Emily was fighting for, but they also highlighted her own insecurities. "It's beautiful, Lila," Emily exclaimed, forcing a smile as she knelt down to examine the artwork. "Is that our new house?" Lila giggled and nodded, her green eyes sparkling with excitement. "Yeah, and we have a big garden with flowers." Emily's heart swelled with love and hope. "I can't wait to have a garden just like that," she said, ruffling Lila's hair. But beneath her smile, doubt simmered. Could she really secure a future for them? A stable home, a garden, and everything she had dreamed of? Or would she let fear hold her back from seizing this opportunity? After breakfast, Emily sat at the kitchen table, staring at the folder Marcus had given her. It was filled with information about the marketing position, project outlines, and company goals. Each page felt like a door opening to a world she desperately wanted to be a part of, yet fear kept her rooted in place. What if she wasn't able to meet the expectations laid out for her? What if she failed? Her phone buzzed, snapping her from her thoughts. It was a message from Marcus. "Hi, Emily. Just checking in to see how you're feeling about the offer. Let me know if you have any questions or need anything." The warmth in his message sent a ripple of comfort through her. She wanted to respond immediately, to express her gratitude and excitement, but the words felt heavy in her throat. Instead, she typed back, "Hi, Marcus. Thank you for reaching out. I'm still processing everything. I appreciate your support." The response was almost instantaneous. "Take your time. I'm here whenever you're ready to talk." As she read his message, Emily felt a flicker of courage igniting within her. Marcus believed in her potential, and perhaps it was time for her to believe in herself. She recalled his words during their meeting. Failure is part of growth. It was a lesson she desperately needed to embrace. With newfound determination, Emily stood up and glanced at Lila, who was busy coloring at the dining table. "Sweetheart, I'm going to take a little time to work on something important. Can you play quietly for a bit?" "Okay, Mummy," Lila replied, her attention already focused on her artwork. Emily took a deep breath and settled back at the kitchen table. She opened the folder again, flipping through the pages until she reached the section outlining her potential responsibilities. The projects were ambitious, challenging, and exactly what she needed to reignite her passion for marketing. As she read through the descriptions, her excitement began to outweigh her fears. This was what she had always wanted, a chance to create, to tell stories, and to make a real impact. The more she read, the more she could envision herself thriving in this environment. But then doubt crept back in. What if she let Marcus down? What if she wasn't good enough? The internal struggle raged on, and she found herself at a crossroads. She could either take the leap of faith and accept the job, or let fear dictate her future. "Mommy, can I have a snack?" Lila's voice broke through the fog of Emily's thoughts once more. "Sure, sweetheart, what do you want?" Emily replied, pulling herself back to the present. "Can we have peanut butter and jelly?" Lila asked, her eyes wide with anticipation. "Absolutely." "Let me make that for you," Emily said, grateful for the distraction. As she spread peanut butter and jelly onto slices of bread, she couldn't help but reflect on how much she wanted to provide a better life for her daughter. Lila deserved stability, happiness, and the chance to chase her own dreams. After they finished snacking, Emily returned to her place at the table, her resolve solidifying. She would reach out to Marcus and accept the offer. If she didn't, she would always wonder what could have been. Taking a deep breath, she grabbed her phone and typed a message. "Hi Marcus, I've been thinking a lot about the job offer, and I'd love to accept it. I'm excited about the opportunity." Her fingers hovered over the send button for a moment, a wave of anxiety crashing over her. What if he changed his mind? What if she regretted her decision? But then she thought of Lila and all the dreams she had for their future. With a final deep breath, she pressed send. Almost immediately, Marcus replied, "That's fantastic news, Emily. I'm thrilled to have you join our team. Let's set up a time to discuss next steps and get everything finalized." A rush of relief and excitement coursed through Emily. She had made the choice to embrace the opportunity, and it felt liberating. "Thank you, Marcus. I'm looking forward to it." As she put her phone down, Lila bounded over, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. "What's happening, Mommy?" "I just made a big decision that will help us," Emily replied, her heart swelling with pride. "I'm going to start a new job, and it's going to be amazing." Lila clapped her hands in delight. "That's so cool. You're going to be the best." Emily hugged her daughter tightly, feeling the warmth of her love wash over her. "Thank you, sweet pea. I'm going to work really hard, and together we're going to make our dreams come true." As the day went on, a sense of purpose filled Emily's heart. She was ready to face the challenges ahead, to prove to herself and to Marcus that she was more than capable. This was her chance to redefine her life, to step out of the shadows and into the light of possibility. Later that evening, as they settled in for bedtime, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of a transformative journey. She had made the choice to accept help, to embrace the kindness Marcus had shown her, and in doing so, she had taken the first step toward a brighter future for both herself and Lila. In the quiet of the night, as Lila drifted off to sleep, Emily felt a familiar sense of hope blooming within her. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities, and a chance to prove herself in ways she had never thought possible. The journey ahead would not be easy, but for the first time in a long time she felt ready to embrace it all. And little did she know, the ripple effects of her choice would lead to a profound connection with Marcus, one that would change both their lives forever. The morning sun cast a golden hue over Atlanta as Emily stood outside the sleek Tech Innovations building, heart racing with a mix of excitement and anxiety. Today was her first day, and it felt surreal to finally step into the world she had longed for. With a deep breath, she straightened her blazer, reminding herself of the promise she made to Lila and to herself, to embrace this opportunity with open arms. As she walked through the glass doors, the buzz of the office enveloped her. Colleagues greeted her with smiles, their energy infectious. After a quick introduction to her new team, Emily found herself seated at her desk, surrounded by vibrant graphics and the hum of creative minds at work. The atmosphere was alive with ideas, and for the first time in a long while she felt like she belonged. But as the day unfolded, so did the challenges. Meetings came and went, and Emily quickly realized the fast-paced environment was unlike anything she had experienced before. There were deadlines to meet, projects to pitch, and expectations to fulfill. Her nerves began to bubble up again as she battled the fear of inadequacy. Thoughts raced through her mind. What if I can't keep up? What if I let Marcus down? During a brief break, Emily stepped onto the balcony, breathing in the fresh air. She closed her eyes, letting the warmth of the sun wash over her. Just as she was finding her center, her phone buzzed. It was a text from Marcus. "How's your first day going? Remember, you're doing great." A smile spread across her face and she felt a surge of gratitude. Marcus's support was a lifeline, reminding her that she wasn't alone in this journey. She quickly typed back, "Thanks, Marcus. It's a bit overwhelming, but I'm excited." As the day wore on, Emily found herself immersed in brainstorming sessions and collaborative projects. She threw herself into her work, her passion for marketing reigniting with every idea shared. Yet, the pressure mounted, and she could feel the weight of expectations bearing down on her shoulders. Later in the afternoon, Marcus called for a team meeting to present a new marketing initiative. Emily's heart raced as she prepared to contribute, her palms sweating as she jotted down her thoughts. As the meeting progressed, Marcus encouraged everyone to share their ideas openly. Emily felt a flicker of courage ignite within her. When it was her turn, she took a deep breath and spoke up. "I believe we could leverage social media to create a more engaging campaign," she suggested, her voice steady despite her nerves. "By sharing personal stories and testimonials, we can connect with our audience on a deeper level." The room fell silent, and Emily held her breath, awaiting a reaction. To her relief, Marcus nodded in approval. "That's a fantastic idea, Emily. Connecting with our audience emotionally is crucial. Let's explore that further." Encouraged by his support, Emily continued to share her vision, and the team rallied around her idea. As they brainstormed together, she felt a sense of belonging washing over her. This was what she had dreamed of, a chance to make an impact and be part of something bigger. By the end of the day, Emily was exhausted but exhilarated. She had faced her fears, contributed to meaningful discussions, and felt the spark of creativity igniting within her once more. As she gathered her belongings, she couldn't help but feel a sense of accomplishment. But as she stepped outside, the weight of reality came crashing back. The financial struggles still loomed, and she hadn't yet secured a stable income. She glanced at her phone to check the time and noticed a missed call from her landlord. Anxiety tightened her chest as she listened to the voicemail. "Emily, we need to discuss your rent. It's overdue and I need to know when you can pay." Panic surged through her. She had been so focused on this new opportunity that she had lost sight of the pressing financial issues back home. Just as she began to feel overwhelmed, a familiar voice broke through her thoughts. "Emily." It was Marcus, walking toward her with a warm smile. "How was your first day?" "It was great, actually. I pitched an idea and the team loved it," she replied, her voice tinged with excitement. But as she spoke, the weight of her worries crept back in. "That's amazing. I knew you'd do well," he said, his eyes shining with pride. "How about we grab dinner to celebrate?" Emily hesitated, the looming deadline for rent gnawing at her. "That sounds great, but I really should—" "Come on," Marcus interrupted gently. "Let's celebrate your first day. We can talk about your ideas over dinner, and I want to hear more about your vision for the campaign." She looked into his eyes, something deep within her stirring. Perhaps this was exactly what she needed. A moment to breathe, to enjoy this new chapter without the weight of her worries, even if just for a little while. "Okay, I'd love that," she finally said, her heart racing. As they walked to a nearby restaurant, Emily felt a sense of ease wash over her. They chatted about their backgrounds, their passions, and the dreams they held for their futures. Marcus shared stories of his journey, his struggles, and the lessons he had learned along the way. Emily felt a connection growing between them, something deeper than mere professional admiration. Over dinner, she felt her worries begin to dissipate. They laughed, shared stories, and for the first time in a long while, Emily felt hopeful. As they finished their meal, Marcus leaned in, his expression sincere. "Emily, I genuinely believe in your potential. You're going to do great things here," he said, his eyes locking onto hers. "Thank you, Marcus, that means a lot," she replied, feeling warmth spread through her. But just as the moment felt perfect, her phone buzzed again. It was a message from her landlord. "I need to hear from you soon about the rent. Options are running out." Her heart sank as anxiety crept back in. Marcus noticed her change in demeanor and asked, "Is everything okay?" Emily hesitated, battling the urge to keep her problems hidden. "It's just, I have some financial issues I need to sort out," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. Marcus's expression softened. "You don't have to go through this alone, you know. I'm here for you, and I want to help." Tears threatened to spill over as she looked into his kind eyes. "I appreciate that, Marcus, but I don't want to burden you." "You're not a burden. We're teammates, and that means supporting each other through tough times," he replied firmly. In that moment, something shifted within Emily. She realized that accepting help didn't mean weakness. It meant strength, vulnerability, and trust. "Maybe I could use some guidance," she confessed, her voice trembling. Marcus reached across the table, placing a reassuring hand over hers. "Let's work together to find a solution. You're not alone in this." As they left the restaurant, Emily felt a sense of hope blooming within her. She had taken a leap of faith, not only in her career, but in allowing someone to help her. Little did she know that this was just the beginning of a profound connection that would redefine her understanding of kindness and support. The following days were a whirlwind of creativity, brainstorming sessions, and late nights at Tech Innovations. Emily poured her heart into the projects, fueled by Marcus's unwavering support. With every presentation, every campaign, she felt herself growing, both as a professional and as a person. But as deadlines approached, the pressure intensified. Emily faced moments of self-doubt and exhaustion, but each time Marcus was there, offering encouragement and guidance. Together, they forged a partnership built on trust and respect, and their bond deepened with each shared challenge. Then came the day of the big presentation, a crucial pitch to potential investors that could secure the company's future. Emily felt the weight of expectation on her shoulders, her heart racing as she paced the conference room. "Are you ready?" Marcus asked, his voice calm and reassuring. Emily nodded, but the nerves churned in her stomach. "I think so. What if they don't like my ideas?" "Just remember, you've worked hard for this moment. Believe in yourself and let your passion shine through," he replied, placing a hand on her shoulder. With a deep breath, she stepped to the front of the room, the faces of the investors staring back at her. She began to speak, her voice steady as she outlined the vision for the campaign. As she spoke, she felt the energy of the room shift. The investors leaned in, engaged and intrigued. But just as she reached the climax of her presentation, her phone buzzed in her pocket. It was her landlord again, a reminder that the financial stress was still looming. Panic threatened to derail her composure, but she pushed through, letting her passion guide her. As she concluded her pitch, the room erupted in applause. Marcus beamed at her, pride shining in his eyes. "You did it!" he exclaimed, pulling her into a celebratory hug. Just then, one of the investors stood up, a thoughtful expression on his face. "We're impressed, Emily. Your ideas are fresh and innovative. We'd like to move forward with your campaign." Tears of relief and joy filled her eyes as she turned to Marcus, who was grinning from ear to ear. In that moment, everything she had worked for felt worth it. She had faced her fears, embraced the challenges, and emerged victorious.